Hi, my name is Simon Bennett. I'm the ZAP founder and project lead, and these are a set of training sessions that I'm giving the folks here at Stack.org. So this time I'm going to be talking about report generation. And this has changed because we've just released a new add-on, ZAPCon, this week, just for report generation. So what I'm going to do is I will start by sharing my screen. And hopefully you can now all see ZAP. And this is ZAP 210. And the report options we have at the moment are quite limited. So if you go to the report menu item, you can generate an HTML report, XML, Markdown, JSON. So you've got some different options there. But if you select one of them, all you'll do is you'll get an option to save the file. So you don't actually get any more options about what it contains. And we've had, the reports haven't really changed since Paros days, so 10 years ago. And they can only contain alerts and maybe ports, I think. They're generated via XSLT, which is very painful to play with. So we decided it was about time that we fixed that and gave you a more modern reporting set of options and framework. So this is available now. So what you can do is you can go to the add-ons menu, and if you go to the marketplace, if you don't see anything, then just do a check for updates, and this will then show you all of the add-ons that you don't have installed. And I know what I'm looking for, but I'll just put report in there just to filter it. And there are some different report add-ons, but the one we're looking for is the official ZAP reports. At the moment, it's 001, version 001, and it's alpha quality, but by the time you watch this, it might be a different version and might have been promoted. So I will select that and install it, which hopefully won't take very long. And what will happen now is that we'll actually see there is a new option here called Generate Report, but you will also see, which is carefully hidden behind control here that I can see, there is a button here for report generation. It's called Generate Report. So if you click on that, you'll then get this new dialog. So you have a lot more options this time. You can specify a report title, the template, and I want to start with an HTML one. The report name, and we kind of got a default name in there, and that's based on a kind of its own pattern, which is defined in the options, which I'll talk about in a bit. And you can choose the directory, and you can give the description, and then you've got other options here. Now, if I just generate straight away, you'll get this warning dialog saying the report would not contain any alerts, and we haven't got the generative no alerts option selected. So this is just to help you, and it's okay if you've got nothing in here, but if you've got multiple contexts and sites, you can actually select sites that aren't in the right context, and this just gives you a little warning. So obviously I need something to report on. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to, open an existing session. And this is a fairly standard session. You can see I've started Firefox, so there's a load of things going on in there. A lot of different sites have been recorded. And if I start this up now, what you'll see is you get to see all of the context. There's only one at the moment. And you get to see all of the sites. Now, what you'll see is that we can actually select a site. And in this case, I'm just going to select localhost. But if you want, you can select multiple. You can use the Shift D or Control key to actually select more than one. You can select however many you want. By default, you'll get all contexts and all sites. So what I'll do is I will generate that report, and you'll see we've got options down here for displaying the report automatically, and that's selected. So that looks like it generated the XML report, which wasn't the one I wanted. I actually wanted the HTML one, and so I will, which I selected before but didn't save, or didn't generate a report. So I will generate that, and of course it's appeared in the wrong window, but I will move it down here, and we'll see that the report is kind of quite similar to the existing ones. So we've got summary of the alerts, we've got the title, it actually shows you the site this time, so you can see there's only one site, and we've got all of the details for the alerts. Now, if I go back and generate a report again, we can change this. And if we want, we can actually select various sites. And you'll see it, it's changed the report title, it's put in the description a bit smaller, and you get the list of all the sites. So it's kind of simple and straightforward. We've got various options. So I think I showed you the XML one already, but I can show you the, I'll do the XML one. Well, the XML one is here. You can see that's very similar to the old style XML reports. And we have a Markdown report, and they get everything in Markdown. And we have an option for PDFs as well. To generate that there, it takes a little bit longer, and we generate the PDF report. So that is all well and good, but we do have various other options. And actually, one of the ones, so we've got filters here, so we can include, you can say whether you want the particular risks and particular confidences. So every alert has a risk at high, medium, low, informational. So if you only want the high and medium ones, you can deselect those. And every alert has a confidence, which is either when ZAP generates them, they're low, medium, or high. You can manually choose them. You can change them either manually or via alert filters. You can change them to false positive and confirmed. So you can choose whichever those you want generated. And the other thing is, I will choose a different template. I'm going to choose this one here. And we'll see we're only getting high and mediums returned here. And one of the complaints we've had is that the existing reports don't allow you to include requests and responses, but this one you'll see we actually have this option where the requests and responses are included in the reports. They're all in the HTML. We've just hidden them behind these options because it becomes very messy if you include all of them. It becomes very hard to read the reports. So we've got lots of different options for the different formats, and we have options for actually including more information, which is very useful. Now, this is actually a very pluggable system. So actually what I will do is go back here and I'll show you the options again, because we've got this option for a pattern for naming the file. We've got this special case of putting site in square brackets. And if you have that in there, then that will be replaced by the first site you select. And we've got anything in curly brackets will be converted by the standard Java date time string conversion. So you can put any kind of time or date based patterns in your file names. And whenever you open the report, then they'll be put in. If you see, if I select one of these, you'll see we'll get the site name put in there, and that changes whenever you change the site. You also see the template directory. So this is where we're loading the templates from. So the ZAP root directory, when running the standard releases, is under Library Application Support ZAP, and then there's a new reports directory. So I do actually want to show that to you. This is, you can see here, it's Library Application Support ZAP, and we can see we've got this reports directory. Unfortunately, it's quite small here, but I can get the contents of the files are much bigger. So you'll see there is a directory for every report, and at the moment, there is a template.yaml file for every report, and that gives the name, the format, the mode, and the extension. So the mode is actually used by the open source project that we use to generate these reports, and that's called Timeleaf. So that's the Timeleaf mode, and the format and extension are used by ZAP. And then there's a report.html file, and this is usually in the format that you want, but with Timeleaf extensions. So there's a whole load of features in here. You can see that we've got this variable called report title with dollar and curly braces around. So basically anything that gets passed into Timeleaf you can put in here. So that report title will not be shown. It will appear if you're editing this document in an HTML editor, so it's quite nice that way. But when we generate the report, then the value comes from this Timeleaf control here. If we scroll further down, we will see more controls. So we have this hash control here. Again, these are all standard Timeleaf functions, and they're all documented very well by Timeleaf. And this is internationalized text. So even though it says things like alerts here, the actual value that will go in comes from an internationalized file. And this is one of those features that has been asked for. And you'll also see you can have loops. So here we're actually looping through numbers 3 to 0. So we can actually print out the summaries of the confidences and the risks, actually just risks there. And if we go down here, we'll see that we're actually going through the alert tree. So we're passing the whole alert tree in from ZAP. So we are actually passing this alert tree across. Now, what we'll do is, it's actually a copy of this alert tree because we filter out things based on what you've decided. So in the last case, the last one I generated, we only had the high and medium alerts in there. So everything else was filtered out before it got to the report. But it means we can pass arbitrary objects across to Timeleaf, and then we can actually include those in the reports. This makes it really powerful. And if I just have a look at the markdown, then the template is very similar. In this case, we're using the Timeleaf text mode, but here we have the reports. So the Timeleaf controls are slightly different, but very similar. So we've got that hash control. So you can see here we're getting hold of the alerts and the user object, which is then the alert object from ZAP. And actually have a look down at the traditional plus one. So that's standard HTML. And if we go down here somewhere, you can see going through the alerts, the alert details. And here we'll see we're actually getting things like the request header. And what you actually see is we're requesting so we've got, for every instance of every alert, we're getting the user object, which is an alert. We're then getting the message and then getting the request header. This is kind of interesting because the message is actually being read from the database at this point. So when we pass the alert tree into Timeleaf, we are not passing all of the information that's available. We have a reference to the message in the database, and then when Timeleaf dereferences that and asks for the request header, that is actually read from the database. So we're not passing massive objects to Timeleaf. This means it should scale much more effectively. The PDF one is slightly different. Actually, I'll show you the XML report. So the template is very simple, XML format, XML mode, and the template is really simple. You can see we just have all of the XML elements, and then we're just pulling them out from ZAP, from the alerts tree. So it is very simple to create these reports, but obviously creating the HTML ones, that then becomes, it's much more about your skill with HTML and JavaScript and all these wonderful things. So that is the reports. One thing I will show you is if we go back to the dialog, we'll see down here we've got the standard ZAP help option, and of course that opens in my different window, but it will give you all the information about report generation. And actually I think it's easier to read on the website, so what I'll do is go to, actually no, it'll be under documentation, so user guide, and we go, we will see report generation. So it tells you about all of the fields, and then it also, we've got more information. If I can find it again. So we have, it does have support for the automation framework, which I announced at ZAPCon as well, and no doubt I'll cover in future of these sessions. But it also has information about creating reports. So it's got a link to Timeleaf. It talks about where the reports directory is. It gives you the format of the template.yaml file, and then goes through the report.extension. And it gives you information about the data available. So right now we've got the alert tree, report title, description, and a helper, alert counts, and report data, and advice about testing reports. Actually, that was the thing I was going to show you with the PDF one. Just remembered, the PDF one is different. Say it's format PDF, but actually, and we've got PDF extension, but actually it's HTML. So if you have a look at the PDF template, it is all HTML. However, you have to be quite careful. So you will notice that all of the tags are correctly closed in this case. So this report actually has to be valid XML, and if it's not, then Timeleaf will throw an exception and will complain about it. So if you fancy generating reports, then that's just something to be aware of. Now, right, this is not actually finished. We haven't finished the report add-on. There's lots more to do. We want to, but at the moment, you can't include separate resources like JavaScript and images. We are definitely going to add that. We're going to make it much easier to make more data available to reports. There'll be a kind of plug-in mechanism there, and we'll try and make sure that all the information you might want is available. It doesn't support the API yet. That'll be coming soon. We want to report custom fields. So the idea is that every report should be able to define its own field. So once you select a particular report, then there should be another tab here which will say which fields you want to add or change, so you can actually put your own headers, footers, or customize in any way you want. And also we'd like reports to be able to define sections. So reports could, for example, have images, so it could have charts and things, and you'll be able to select which sections you want to include. So there's a lot more to add, but we've made a start, and we're well on the way to, and this we will carry on adding to this and supporting in the future. Now, if I go to, I want to show you the source code just so you know where it is if you want to have a play with it. So it is, so in the ZAP proxy organization, it's under ZAP extensions. Then you go to add-ons, and we scroll all the way down here. We will see reports, and if we go into source, then under main, if we go to home files reports, they'll see those directories with those two files in. And if we go back up to Java, you'll see this is where we got that extension reports, that standard kind of entry point. And we go down here somewhere, we'll see there will be, so this is where we're filtering the alert tree. And here we've got generate report, and this is where we start playing around with the Timeleaf and getting hold of the template and generating the information. And special case it's PDF, because then we know we generated HTML report, and we have to kind of generate another one again with PDF here. So that is that's where the code is. You can have a play around with that and explain some of the extra features. Now, you might think that the reports that we've got, the current reports we've got, aren't particularly exciting. And you're absolutely right, they're not great. The reason is, I don't think, well, I know it's not, I'm not particularly great at creating these very pretty reports. And I don't think many of the rest of the core team are that great either. So we're going to have a competition, and which I announced at ZAPCon as well. So if you are watching this soon after we recorded, hopefully the competition will still be open. But check the ZAP blog for details. Right now I'm recording it. We haven't published those details because we're a bit pushed for time with ZAPCon and things, but by the time it goes live, I'm hoping that competition will be available, and it will definitely be open. So have a look at that competition. Basically, we're going to offer $100 for every report template that we include in ZAP. So that's the HTML and PDF ones. The XML ones and Markdown ones are quite simple to create. So there's no reward on those, but we're definitely interested in more templates of those if you want to do those. But we do want to make sure that these are really useful. They're good-looking reports. They're really useful, and importantly, want them to be fully accessible as well. So if you're interested in that, please get in touch. Details will be on the blog, and if you want to talk about it, chat with us about it, then the ZAP user group is the best place. And if there's anything you want changed, if you want more information available to reporting infrastructure, then please get in touch with us via that route. And that is everything I was going to cover from the reporting side. Anyone who's listening live, any comments or questions?
Thank you, Simon. This was an awesome presentation, so thank you for sharing. I'm curious, does a report still generate if a ZAP scan fails?
So that comes down to, so we've got different ways of running ZAP. If you're running ZAP manually, then you will, it's up to you to decide whether a scan has worked or failed and whether you choose to generate the report or not. Once we get into automation, then you're right, that's when it becomes more interesting. And the focus is definitely going forward is definitely going to be on this new automation framework. And the plan is for their, that's something I'll be covering in a future, or maybe one or more future sessions. But with the automation framework, there will be a whole set of options to actually warn or fail the jobs under certain conditions. And those conditions, you'll have full control of those conditions. So it'll be things like, if we don't find the expected number of entries by either of the spiders or when importing API definitions, if you're using automation, if the number of if we don't get any authenticated requests, or it's not as many authenticated requests as we expect, then you will be able to fail the automation jobs on that basis. And if you're then going to run the report after that, and the job fails, then the report doesn't get run, but you will have options to warn and not exit on the warning and then carry on generating the report, but it probably won't be as useful. Okay, well, that's it. Thank you very much. If you enjoy these videos, then please like them on YouTube and subscribe to get alerted when any new ones appear. Thank you very much, and until next time.